It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day, I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. I'm taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
It starts with some beer, so you shouldn't have fear. Two garbage guys with facts, but they both still have tact. It's that time at last for the best damn podcast. It's Can Crusher Day.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of Can Crusher Spotlight. I am Mark Martinez, and this week we have one half of the OVW Tag Team Champions, Jax Dane. Jax has been all over the world. He has held several different titles for a number of organizations. This interview is so much fun. Jax is a great guy. Guys, just listen to this. Listen to his passion about wrestling. But first, make sure tomorrow at 8:30 you get either on Can Crushers or on OVW's Facebook page, as they have a huge announcement. As you can tell, I posted something earlier. If you get on the page and you like their stream, you have a chance to win $100. And if you're at WrestleCon and you actually stream the event, you also have a chance to win $100. OVW is just giving you free money. They're just whipping it out there. Guys, big things are happening in OVW. As I said, we'll keep up with whatever news comes our way tomorrow. I'll get it out there as fast as I can. But right after this commercial, from Collar and Elbow, my interview with Jax Dane.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. It's Mark Martinez, and today we have a wrestler that's been in the business for about 10 years. You've seen him in OVW, Impact, NWA, ROH, House of Hardcore, tried and true, and he kills coyotes for $7 and whiskey, Jax Dane.
Hello. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Jax?
Man, I'm doing awesome. Thank you.
So 10 years in the business.
Give or take. I actually started in the developmental program for WWE. I've had a couple of years under my belt with those guys over there at Ohio Valley Wrestling prior to all the transitions that went through. Then my mother was diagnosed with lung cancer the first time, and I took roughly 6 or 7 years off. And then once she was up and healthy again and had the opportunity to wrestle again, I took advantage of it.
That is great to hear about your mother being up and healthy again. That is something that we did not know about. So
no, that's okay, man. And unfortunately, she did pass away a few years ago. But she was super supportive in my career. She taught me a lot about life and love and being kind and everything that you'd want a mother to be. I couldn't have had a better one. And I don't hesitate to talk about her when I get an opportunity, because she really was one of my heroes, and I like for people to know her story. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
No problem, Jax. My mother's my best friend.
Awesome.
I can call
Awesome.
her right now and say, "Hey, come up and talk, Jax with me." Anything. So I feel you there. I
Awesome.
feel you. So let's rewind a little bit, then we'll get into your wrestling business. Who got you involved in wrestling at a young age? Was it grandpa? Was it dad? Who was that?
No, it really wasn't anybody, man. I just, like every little kid surfing the TV, you find what makes you happy, you find what you like, and fortunately my parents weren't the overbearing type that kind of restricted what I had access to when I was a child. So, I saw pro wrestling when I was little, and like everybody, I think, like just about, I would say 97, 98%, and that's a total guess, but percent of the guys that end up wrestling for a living or as a career, they were a fan first, and I was a fan just like everybody else, man. Road Warriors, King Kong Bundy, Hulk Hogan, Savage, Flair, Koloff. I mean, those were the guys that, they were larger than life, and man, I really gravitated towards them.
You named most of my favorites there. You really have. It's just amazing. We grew up in the same era, so you were a big WWF fan?
Yes, and a big NWA fan. And Georgia Championship Wrestling. I was just a pro wrestling fan. I hate to put titles on it, man, or letters out beside it, because pro wrestling at that time, no matter where you were, was amazing.
I completely agree with you. Completely. It was red hot. It was red hot back then. So who pushed you in to being a wrestler? Was it one of your buddies that said, "Hey, you're a big man. Let's get into this," or was it just you? Damn it, this is what I'm doing when I get out of school.
Well, there's two stories to that. I played college basketball, and one summer I was home working out at the local Hickson, Tennessee World's Gym, and that was the same gym that Terry Gordy worked out at, and I was always in awe of Mr. Gordy because of his size, and he didn't work out there often, only when he was in town, and he would come and go, and just even his charisma walking around the gym, and you were just enamored by him. And one day he and I had made eye contact a handful of times while we were training separately. Had never spoken to him, and he actually walked over to me and said, introduced himself, and I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Gordy, I'm real aware of who you are." He said, "You got a great look, kid. If you ever do anything other than wrestle professionally in your life, you'll be wasting it." That's the only thing he ever said to me. I mean, other than the pleasantries, right?
Right.
Wasn't much long after that. He wasn't with us anymore. So then I finished college basketball, and my roommate in college, his dad, was one of the lead cameramen for WWE at the time. His name was Bubba Dean Blau. And he and I developed a decent relationship over the course of my couple of years there at college with his son. And he had told me, he said, "Hey, man, if you ever decide that you would like to have an opportunity to work with the WWE, I don't get an opportunity to call in many favors, but I'd be glad to do that for you." So, I had that in the back of my head. So, like everybody else, I graduate college, go into the corporate world, get a corporate job. And one day, man, I was just having a terrible, terrible, terrible corporate day at work. And I thought, with the hell with it, I'm gonna give this gentleman a call and tell him that's what I want to do, and we'll see where the cards fall. So I called him, and he said, "Okay, just make sure you keep your phone with you. I'll see what I can do." 48 hours later, Tom Pritchard called me on my cell phone. He was the head of talent relations at the time, I believe. And he said, "Hey, Jax," or Jeremy, he said, "Hey, we'd like to have you up into Louisville for a workout. You come highly recommended. Would you be willing to come up and work out with us?" So I took a couple of vacation days the following week, drove my happy ass to Louisville, got into the ring with the Basham brothers, Kevin Furtick, who was Mordecai, who is still one of my very best friends in the business today. Linda Miles, Jackie Gata, Rip Rogers. Those were the guys that were there for my workout. Had I'd never wrestled before, didn't know anything about it. Had a fairly decent athletic workout. Not knowing anything about wrestling or how to wrestle or what have you. I was limited there, but it's just as far as the 240-pound athletic guy, I fit in okay. So a little bit more time passed. Dr. Tom invited me back up to move to Louisville, not under a developmental deal, but to train with Ohio Valley Wrestling, and I did. Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway, Rip Rogers, Danny Davis. They kind of took me under their wing, and within about 3 to 4 weeks there, I'd gone from the beginners amateur class over into the advanced class, and the contract class is what they called it. So I was in there with guys like Carlito and Lashley and Matt Morgan, Dinsmore, Conway, so on and so forth. So I progressed pretty quick. After about 12 months there, my mom got sick the first time, decided to wrap it up, go home, be with her, and the rest is history.
Wow. That blows my mind. You did say Terry Gordy, and as I watch your matches on OVW and Tried and True, what we do get up here, I've always compared you to Terry Gordy. You move like him. You are.
That's way too kind, man. That's way too kind.
Well, that's what you remind me of. It really does.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm going on record saying I'm not deserving of that comparison. That's for sure. But I do appreciate that. Terry is actually he's billed at some points from Soddy Daisy, Tennessee, and Bakewell, Tennessee is right next to Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. I actually went to Soddy Daisy High School, so there's a lot of connection and comparison and a lot of film study there, man. And Terry Gordy's got I believe a nephew, if I'm not mistaken, named Richard A. Slinger. He wrestled in Japan for a while, named Richard Slinger. He's from Soddy Daisy as well, and he and I have had some talks. So, yeah, man, it's real important to me to make sure that people understand how much of an influence Terry Gordy was, how much of a wonderful human being that we hear through the grapevine on how he treated people. And you always, when you share a common thread with somebody, you always want to do the best you can to honor them with what you do.
Yeah, you are probably the second or third person that we've had on the show that pretty much the same words. You said the same words that they did talking about Terry, and like I didn't know him from Adam. I just as a wrestling fan, where you actually had some interchange with him. So yeah, that's amazing. It really is. So you said that you worked with Danny, and now you're working with Al in OVW. What differences do you see between Danny's OVW and Al's OVW?
Oh man, that's a tough question, man. I mean, when I was at OVW the first time, it was the full-blown developmental program for WWE. So it had their athletes and their funding and their flavor in everything Danny was doing. Danny was obviously a bona fide genius when it comes to wrestling and training wrestlers and preparing wrestlers and creating superstars. I think Al, in the year that I've been with Al over there, he's doing all of the right things to really rebuild Ohio Valley Wrestling. I mean, and I don't say that for anybody to take it as an insult or a slap in the face, but obviously from when I was there the first time to when I came back, it's like night and day. And now that Al has really starting to put his hands on everything that's going on there, he's such a creative mind, such a perfectionist, a great teacher, great human, fun to be around. He's really, more than anything, brought back the spirit of professionalism and great professional wrestling to OVW. And I'm just proud to be a part of that, man. Proud to help him along the way, do all I can to make sure this place succeeds.
Yeah, Al is doing a lot for OVW, just releasing a network recently, putting everything on YouTube, just being pretty much transparent. Boom, here we are.
Well, and that's what you have to do, man. I mean, what you're seeing now in the wrestling business, it's transcending itself in a sense that previously writers, producers, promoters, companies made stars. Now guys can make themselves a star without the backing of anyone. With social media, you can actually have direct access to the fans and build your fan base and your stardom really without the backing of a major company. So now you have the ability to build some value into yourself prior to going to work for someone. And that's the biggest change in the business, I believe, in the last 15 or 20 years is you don't need the big machines to become noticeable anymore. And you can actually build a career for yourself without the big machine behind you.
That's so true. It really is. Social media is built, and somebody. The best one is Zack Ryder. I mean, realistically, Zack Ryder, right? The internet champion.
Well, Zach's good, but you really can't take the Young Bucks for granted either.
Well, no, yeah, the Young Bucks and Cody, yeah.
They've built themselves from nothing with very minimal exposure, and they've turned themselves into a phenomenon that is just absolutely amazing and well-deserved.
Without a doubt. AEW's going off the record a second. AEW is going to be amazing, and we can't wait for it up here.
Right.
So you've also worked in NWA. We're going to bounce around a little bit now. You've worked in NWA. You were the Lone Star Tag Team Champion with Raymond Rao. You were the World Tag Team Champion with Rob Conway. National Heavyweight Champion, and for 419 days, you were the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. That in itself is amazing.
Well, when you start wrestling, you set out some goals, and you always tell yourself, you want to be on the top of the food chain. And I feel like for those 420 days, I was there. It was the greatest honor of my wrestling career to be able to represent the NWA, represent all the former champions, just carry myself in a way that when you interacted with me, whether it be a fan, a colleague, a promoter, an owner, you dealt with somebody that really took this profession seriously and handled himself as a professional. That was my number one goal when I was the NWA World Champion. The NWA was very, very good to me during that time period. I was the World Tag Team Champions with Rob Conway, like you said. I was also the National and the North American Heavyweight Champion. So realistically, I think, you might could fact check this to make sure I'm not telling a lie, but I think I'm the only Grand Slam champion with those 4 titles in the history of the NWA. And I'm pretty proud of that as well. And I've been lucky, man. You mentioned Raymond Rowe. I mean, Ray Rowe was part of War Machine over at ROH, and now he's one half of the War Raiders at NXT right now in WWE. So I had Rowe as a tag team partner. I had Rob Conway, who, especially in your area of the country, his resume speaks for itself as a tag team partner. And now I have Crimson as a tag team partner. So I had a pretty successful singles career, and man, I've been really, really lucky to be blessed with some really good tag team partners as well.
Yeah, that 3 that you just named right there is amazing. Raymond actually has worked some independents up here as well, IWC, International Wrestling Cartel. So we got to see him up here. He's a great guy to talk to as well. He really is.
Superman, and a quick story on Ray. He and I lived together for a while. We kind of funny personal stories. We went through divorces together, and we lived together. And then, man, I'll never forget when my mother passed away to revert back to that. He drove 17 hours in one day just to make sure I didn't have to do that by myself. And I'll never forget that, man. That I needed him that day, and he didn't let me down. So that was I'll forever be in his corner, and I'm always pulling for him to make sure that he knows that he has whatever support he needs in his endeavors to make sure he's successful. He really, much like Crimson and much like Rob Conway, have become a brother to me. And this business, it gives you a lot of ups and downs, but what it does give you that it can never take away is some of the relationships that you build with these guys. And Ray Rowe is one of those.
Yeah, that's 17 hours. That's really something to hang your hat on. There's people out here.
Yeah, that's one way too. That was one way. So
there's some
yeah.
people don't drive half an hour sometimes. So 17.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to Ray for doing that for you, because that gave me tingles when you were telling me about it.
Yeah, man, and he didn't tell me he was coming either, so that made it even more special when he popped his head in the door. It was him and another gentleman who's just found some recent success out of Knoxville, Devin Driscoll. Trains with Dr. Tom up there and has spent some time out in ROW with Booker T. He's a super individual too, and I don't want to give away anything, but he's recently put on his social media that he's no longer taking independent booking. So I think we all have an idea of what the next step is without letting the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, you put 2 and 2 together. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So you're still working with NWA, sorta, because this is exciting. The return of the Crockett Cup. This is probably one of my all-time favorite tournaments as a kid. 86, 87, 88, just watching this. I mean, we had to wait till we got it on VHS up here. But
right.
the Crockett Cup, and Can Crushers will be at the Crockett Cup, so I'm looking to run into you down there.
Awesome.
How does it feel that you're back in this huge tournament?
Oh, man, it's amazing, man. I mean, the Crockett Cup, the Road Warriors winning the initial one it's hopefully we can revive that feeling. I mean, we've actually got the support of, I'm sure you've seen of Road Warrior Animal, which is a cool thing in itself, with the spikes and the face paint and his endorsement to do those things. That's something you always kind of dream about doing as a kid, but you never pull the trigger on it until the guy that made it famous says, "Hey, you ever thought about doing this?" And then you're like, "Oh, well, hell yeah, I've thought about it a lot," but you don't really do it until you get permission to do that. So the Crockett Cup's going to be a special night. The teams that are in it that have already qualified are fantastic. I'm still waiting to see who else pops up in this thing, which is a pretty neat deal in itself. Just the anticipation. It's a lot of the times they say the anticipation of something is better than the feeling itself. So that's pretty cool. Crimson and I are going to do our best. We're going to go out there. We're going to smash some heads. Hopefully we come out on top of the pile. That's the plan.
Yeah, I'm definitely pulling for you too. Once I saw that you were in, and I was talking to Chad, I'm like, I really got to get him on the show to be able to talk Crockett Cup and everything else. So.
Right on. Well, and you got to give credit, man, to Dave Lagana and Billy Corrigan. They've done a fantastic job of building the value back into the NWA. Those guys have really been fun to work with. They're super professional. They do a great job on the marketing side. And what I really enjoyed with the NWA is the pacing at which they're doing things. I mean, with Nick Aldis as the world champion, he's been the face of the company. He's done an outstanding job. He's traveled all over the world with the title, like you're supposed to do. He is the champion. He is the face, and I'm proud to work with a brand like that.
Yeah, and one more thing on the NWA, that arena, when they put out that little promo, it's big enough, yet it's right. It's going to nestle everybody together. When I think of NWA, I always think of, Superstation and everybody in that little Georgia studio. So this is a little bit bigger version of it, but it's cozy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's really neat, man, when you go back and you watch some of the older stuff that you grew up on, the WCW stuff in the studio, the NWA stuff in the studio, the Georgia Championship Wrestling in studio, the Memphis stuff in the studio. As a fan, you never really realized how cozy those places were. Cozy being a great word to describe that. And now when you look back on it, you see, the atmosphere that you're able to create in a smaller, cozier environment, man. It's a lot of fun to go back and watch that.
Yeah, it really is. Shifting gears, you've worked in Impact. You were actually signed in Impact. So let's talk a little bit about Impact now, too.
Okay. They've gone through some changes, and they've never been anything but super professional and great to me. From Sanjay and Abyss, who are no longer there, to Scott Demore and Ed Nordum, the guys that own it and run it, they've been fantastic to me as a person and as a wrestler. Crimson and I initially were kind of thrown together at a last-minute whim. We took the ball and ran with it, and you see where we are now. We've worked some TV events for them. We've worked some Impact tapings for them now. We've worked some pay-per-views for them. We've co-promoted with Tried and True for them on some things. So, I'm real happy to work with and be a part of Impact when the puzzle pieces all fit together. Great company, and their roster is second to none. When you go down their roster, you got Moose and Callahan and Eli Drake and Eddie Edwards and all the ladies with Tessa and Jordan and Johnny Nitro or Johnny Impact, Taya. Their roster's second to none. I mean, it's a great place to be a part of, and we're happy to work with them when that puzzle piece fits together.
Yeah, and you're doing all the segues for me, so thank you very much. Let's talk Tried and True now. You guys have a special coming up, a military type special. Give us some more information on that, because
yeah, man, it's April 12th. It's on the Army base there at Fort Campbell. It's called Salute to the Troops. It's in co-promotion with Impact Wrestling, and this came together for one reason and one reason only, man, and that's Crimson. Crimson is former 101st Airborne. He was based there in Clarksville at Fort Campbell. He really, really wanted to do something to give back to the troops. He's done a lot of groundwork and a lot of lead work to make sure that what he was going to present there would be first class and professional and above and beyond anything they could imagine. We've got some great sponsors. Lehman Dermatology, Eric Lehman is part of a law firm up there that also sponsors Budweiser. I mean, we're just Harley Davidson there in Clarksville. I mean, we're just really lucky that he's dug his heels into a city as great as Clarksville, and now we get to give that city an event that I think is going to blow everybody's doors off.
Yeah, the sponsors. Wow, I mean, getting Budweiser, Harley Davidson right off the get, that's pretty important. And that means you guys are actually doing the right thing in Tried and True as well.
Well, I mean, and I've worked, like you said, 10 years, man. I've worked or I don't want to say every, but I've worked a lot of independent promotions across the country, and I've never quite seen a machine that runs like Tried and True does, man. I mean, when you sign up for one of the Tried and True events at the Wilma Rudolph Event Center, you're signing up to work in front of 1,000, 1,200 people. They draw great. It's a great event. The lighting's good. They've got the Titantrons. They've got the host. They've got the national anthem. I mean, they've got match after match that's with top-rated guys. I mean, you can go down the list of guys that have been there with Dreamer and Mordecai and Sam Shaw, Crazy Steve, Abyss, myself, Crimson, Lashley, James Storm. I mean, if they've been part of wrestling relevancy in the last 3 to 4 years, for sure, Crimson's done everything he can to put them on that card, man. He's done a great job. And, man, I'm proud that he's my partner, and I'm proud that he's doing the things he's doing for that city, yes.
Is that something that's going to be on Fight, or is there a way that we're going to be able to watch it besides in Tennessee?
Yeah, it will be on, I believe, Fight TV. I should have looked at that before we jumped on here. But I believe it'll be on Fight TV in May, even though we're filming it in April. But I'll get that information to you because I don't want to tell you wrong. I'll get that to you, and you can put it out on your website as soon as we jump off here.
Excellent. A couple others. You wrestled over in Japan. How is that? That's kind of one of the, you always want to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. You want to make it to the mothership of WWE. You want to, those are all the United States one. How is it going to Japan where it's completely different?
Well, it was a great experience, a great 2 years of my life, man. I mean, I got to work over there with some of the very best wrestlers in the world, from Okada and Tanahashi to Tenzan and Kojima. New Japan Pro Wrestling is one of the very best companies in the world, with the very best wrestlers in the world. And man, it was just an honor to be over there. I had a handful of singles opportunities and a lot of tag team wrestling opportunities over there. Our debut night over there as a team, we won the NWA World Titles, and in that match was Lance Archer, Lance Hoyt in America, Davey Boy Smith, Tenzan, and Kojima in a sort of a 2 versus 2 versus 2 falls match. First match for the NWA and the second for the IWGP. So, you know, my experience in Japan was fantastic. With Gedo and Jado and Mr. Hattori, they treat you like $1 million. You go in, you do your job, you get paid, you come home. It's great.
How are the crowds different? That's one thing I like to ask of talent that goes over to Japan that just is actually just based in America all the time.
It is a little different. They don't react as much in Japan, but when they do react, it's impressive. I mean, it's a good feeling. For me, wrestling in Japan, I was always I wasn't very well liked by the fans over there, so it was a lot of fun. Wrestling in the U.S. over here, we tend to get cheered quite a bit, but over there, man, they booed us at almost every opportunity they got. So, for me, great experience. Love the fans over there. Love the fans here. It's a solid deal either way.
Getting booed is actually big praise, though, isn't it?
I mean, if that's what your job is to do, then yes, it's big praise. It's, I mean, we all should aspire to do what we're hired to do to the best of our ability. So when that's what you're hired to do is to get booed, then you should aspire to really do that to the best of your ability.
Yeah. You've worked with some big names. I'm going to throw some out, and if you can tell a story maybe about one or two, just way some listeners know some other name. You've listed a ton of names that everybody should know, but Davey Boy Smith Jr., Scott Steiner, Jushin Thunder Liger, who is going to retire. You said Bobby Lashley, Bobby Fish, Leo Rush, Dalton Castle, and Drew Galloway McIntyre. Those are big ones still right now. So
right.
If you could tell a story, I'd like the story about Jushin if you could throw something out, but whatever.
Oh man, I mean, you get to the arena, a Jushin Liger story. You get to the arena, and you look at the run sheet, and you see your name across from Jushin Liger. You get a tingly feeling, man. I mean, that's like that's a once in a lifetime match for just about anybody, right?
I would think,
especially for me, man, it was a huge honor to wrestle Jushin Thunder Liger. And his palm strike is as intense as you would believe it to be. We'll leave it at that. You mentioned Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway. To me, I think he's the best in the world right now.
Yeah, he's red hot.
I wrestled him for a company called AML. Brian Hawks and Tracy Myers over in the Carolinas. Great company, great guys. I wrestled Drew in a tournament over there. One of my favorite matches I've had. It's always great fun when you wrestle somebody that's substantially better than you are. A lot of guys hate to admit shit like that, but for me, when I get an opportunity to wrestle somebody that is either more accomplished or just better than me, I really soak that in, and Drew was that guy. I mean, he was just... He knew he was going back to WWE at that point. He didn't even have to do the event, but that's the type of professionalism you get with him. So it really was a fantastic tournament all the way around. I was really happy to work with him. Bobby Lashley, he's been one of my best friends for a long, long time. We used to lift weights together in Louisville when we lived there. Our initial stint with OVW, and we've just always stayed in touch. Rob Conway, lifelong friend. You didn't mention Gene Snitsky, but Gene and I have a great relationship. He's a good dude, and he's really, at the beginning of my career when I was learning to wrestle more like a big guy, he really took some time out to help me there. And then now a guy that really reaches out and advises me a lot, in most cases unsolicited, and I don't mean that as a negative, but just a guy that will take the time to watch what I do and offer me some insight that I really appreciate is Mike Bucci, Nova. He lives there in the Louisville area. He was real attached to OVW. He really helps me from time to time when he can, and I'm super grateful for that, man. I mean, my wrestling career has almost been, it's funny, kind of storybook in a sense that the guys you meet, the way they treat you, and how they try to help you, it really gives me some faith in this business that some of the nightmare horror stories that you hear, it's not always like that, and I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, just hanging around some indie promotions up here around Pittsburgh and everything. You know, we have, I don't want to say open door policy, but we talk to a lot of wrestlers, and the stories just aren't there anymore. You know, you guys are, and I say this across the board, you guys are a legit family, a close-knit locker room anymore that everybody's got each other's back, and that's good.
Well, and a lot of that I feel like has to do with how visible everything is now, right?
Right.
With social media, if you do something out of step now, pretty much the entire community learns about it or knows about it fairly quickly. And nobody really wants to be that guy, or you shouldn't want to be that guy. Treat people well. Adam Pearce, who we haven't talked about at all, but outside of Flair and Conway, Adam Pearce is probably my favorite NWA world champion of all time. His motto, just treat people fairly, treat people with respect. That goes a long way with me. We just got to do all we can to make the world a better place, man. And I think, especially with some of the things you see AEW doing with their all-inclusion policies, it's just a breath of fresh air right now, and I'm proud to be a part of what's going on.
Yeah, us being on the bottom level right now, we're the same way. AEW is just blowing up with that all-inclusive thing. That's awesome. We saw that, and I had to post it instantly. That's how important that is to, some of my friends have children. So,
right.
Yeah, so. One more thing before we get to OVW now. You've been ranked in the top 500 since 2014. Your best rank.
I have?
You have been. You do not know that? By PWI, you've been ranked in the top 500. Best rank was 78. You've hovered around like 150 to 190, but that's congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's it's always an honor when somebody outside of your immediate circle recognizes you. So, I'm proud of that. I'm happy with that. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Finally, before we get to just the non-wrestling questions, OVW, April 6th, are you and Crimson both going to show up to actually fight the War Kings?
We are the War Kings.
You mean
the Queens?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You mean those guys? We might not. Who knows? We kind of do what we want to do there. So, maybe we do, maybe we don't. Maybe one of us shows up, the other one don't, and we beat them anyway.
Right.
Don't put it past us. Either one of us at either time. It is what it is. Those kids have been dodging us now for X number of months.
About 6.
Yeah, they had an opportunity at the last Impact. All they had to do was beat us there. They couldn't beat us there. They couldn't beat the Void there. We'll show up. It's what we do.
Okay. Advice before we get to the big news that Chad Miller is pushing. What kind of advice do you have for young wrestlers just getting into the business that nobody has told you, or kind of like Terry Gordy told you?
Get a degree before you start wrestling, or make that a priority while you're training. Get your education.
Wow, that's nothing about the business?
No. Look, wrestling is a roller coaster business. Some guys come in with a bunch of fanfare and do very well. Some guys crawl from the very bottom and do very well. Some guys never make it. I mean, and you've got to decide what is your idea of making it as well. What are your goals? Because making it for one guy may not be making it for another guy. So you got to set your goals, and you've got to have realistic goals as well. You want to find a school where you can invest an enormous amount of time, and there's a handful of schools out there that are great. Crimson's got a school, the Dudleys have a school, Tom Pritchard and Kane now have a school. OVW obviously is a school with great facilities. I mean, but you can't part-time or half-ass it, man. If you're going to do it, you got to do it. And you really just need to be make sure you're getting advice and taking advice from people who have been successful in the business. The biggest ruse in our business is a lot of people training people, advising people that never were successful enough to be put into that role. And that's a travesty to me. If you're going to be investing in a school or a facility, you should go somewhere that has a track record of either where the trainer, the teacher has been successful, developed contacts and made money, or they're pumping out kids that are getting signed. Perfect example of that is Danny Cage with the Monster Factory at ROH up there. I mean, hell, I don't pay extremely close attention to him and what he's doing, but I see, it feels like once a week he announces that somebody else is either signed with NXT or ROH or Impact, or they're going overseas. I mean, that's the kind of place you want to go, is where whoever is in charge has the ability to get you to the next level and not just take your money.
Yeah, that's a great point. And OVW has a list of alums that we could go through,
man,
but everybody knows them.
Well, and they have Al Snow leading the charge, who, if there's anybody that can get you physically, mentally ready and prepared to go to the next level, and then when you're ready, make that phone call to get you the opportunity to be looked at the next level, it's Al Snow. So, I mean, OVW is absolutely one of those places.
Nice. All right, 2 more questions. You can book your dream match, you against somebody. It could be past, present, future. If you know in the future, who would it be against? Where would it be, and what stipulation?
Oh man, that's whew. You get asked that question a lot, man. I don't really have a dream match, but I can tell you the opportunity right now would be for Crimson and I to wrestle the Midnight Express.
Oh my God.
With Cornette in their corner. If we're talking historical figures and matches, just anywhere in the Southeast would be a wonderful thing. A match that Crimson and I, we've chatted about, would like to have now. There's a handful of teams out there. Obviously, we'd like to wrestle the Briscoes. They're fantastic. The Young Bucks, we'd love to wrestle them. They're fantastic. SCU, War Raiders. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there right now. Reno Scum comes to mind, out on the West. So there's a lot of good tag teams right now we'd like to bang heads with. King's Ransom being one of them. I mean, I'll give you that. This Saturday, we'll see how that turns out. But, yeah, man, a dream tag team match. I mean, is there a better, as guys that like to get cheered, is there a better match than the Midnight Express?
No, I kind of zoned out for a minute. No, I'm kidding. Okay. When you listed everybody else, but to see you guys against the Midnight Express, Jax, I'm sorry. I'm going to be rooting for Cornette to hit your Crimson with.
I'd probably be cheering for him too. I mean, come on. But then, so if you translate that to today, wrestling the revival, I mean, that's as close as you can get to it today, right?
Exactly.
That's, you know, the Usos are great. Gallows and Anderson are great. You know, I got to wrestle Gallows and Anderson a handful of times in Japan with Conway as my partner. I'd like to do it again with Crimson as my partner. So, I mean, there's a lot of great matches out there, man.
Yeah, there really are. All right, at the end of this month, a day before you head to the Crockett Cup, you're going to be eating a lot. You're going to be taking part in the Old 96er Challenge, and I like this already because it benefits Kids Cancer Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing here?
Yeah, we've signed up. We're committed to eat as much steak as I possibly can in a 1 hour period. With all the proceeds going to the Kids Cancer Alliance, I mean, I like to eat steak, so you know I have a close tie with the disease of cancer, obviously with losing my mom to cancer. So, I mean, I'm a sucker for any time anybody ever asks me to participate in something like that. I'm going to jump on board with it, and you know, this is just another opportunity to do something outside of myself that will allow me to contribute back to society best I can.
Now, have you been practicing? I mean, you're a big guy anyway. You probably can eat a lot of steak, but have you been practicing kind of like Joey Chestnut eating all the hot dogs, you know, doing 15 minutes at a time, you know?
No, man. I mean, we're just going to show up and we're going to eat 6 pounds of steak in an hour, man. I mean,
it's unbelievable.
We're going to do all we can. I mean, right now my meals, you know, I eat 6 pounds of turkey in a day. So, you know, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, Tommy Dreamer's going to be there. He may eat his steak and my steak before I can get mine done. I mean,
this is true. This is true.
He might eat them both before I even get to take a bite. But no, we're going to do all we can that day to make that event special, make as much money as we can for the Kids Cancer Alliance. Man, I'm really, really glad that Chad invited me to be a part of that, and looking forward to doing all I can to win that old 96er.
That's a hell of a challenge. That has meat sweats written all over it.
Yeah, man, it sure does.
All right, I'll give you your to-do. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and if you want to shout out to anybody, go right ahead.
Oh, man, social media is my Twitter's at the Jax Dane, Facebook and Instagram or J Dane Lehman. Anything you guys want to do to follow me, man, I appreciate that. Look forward to the Kids Cancer Alliance fundraising event. That'll be a great time, and we're going to do all we can to eat 6 pounds of steak in 60 minutes. It's only a pound every 10 minutes, right?
That's not bad.
That's not bad, right? Just somebody keep Tommy Dreamer off my plate and we'll be good.
Do you get a beer beside it? I mean, beer would probably hinder it a little bit, but it would also
Yeah,
help.
man, I don't want anything to drink for that hour.
Nice. So tomorrow you have the big match against King's Ransom. Best of luck in that. And I can't wait to see you, as I hope to run into you at the Crockett Cup.
Awesome, man. I look forward to meeting you as well, and thank you for having me today.
So Jack said a pound every 10 minutes for this steak. The first 30 minutes could probably be done by me. Paul could probably go 45, 50, but damn, that's still a lot of steak. 6 pounds in an hour. Nonetheless, all proceeds go to the Kids Cancer Alliance, the old 96er. Guys, look it up. I've actually have it tagged on my Facebook already. Just look it up. If you can make a donation somehow, even from where you're at right now, Kids Cancer Alliance, it would mean a lot to everyone, to the kids, you know, us at Can Crushers. It's great. The stories. How about the stories with him? Terry Gordy running into him, wrestling Jushin Thunder Liger, Al Snow. I mean, we could just go on and on and on about Al Snow, but I'm so excited to see the War Kings at the Crockett Cup when I go to Concord, North Carolina at the end of this month. I'm excited. Guys, once again, don't forget to follow OVW tomorrow. If you like their stream, you have a chance to win $100. If you're at WrestleCon and you stream, you have a chance to win $100. If you can't find it there, we will keep you up to date as much as we can, because we will be getting texts or something, I've heard. So nonetheless, if nothing else, come back to the Can Crusher page, and we will keep you up to date on everything and all the huge announcements going on this weekend with OVW. Once again, I want to thank Jax Dane for coming onto the show. Dude, you're great. I can't wait to run into you. Thank you to Al Snow and Chad Miller. Without you guys, this is not possible. Guys, remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Guys, enjoy wrestling. Let it show you why you fell in love with it. This is a huge freaking weekend, and we're excited to kick it off with Can Crusher Spotlight.